Good afternoon, everybody, big GT fan here. Today we're doing a review on the XB GT, the last of the GTs. So this went from 1973 to 1976. So after the race program in 1972 was cancelled and the supercar scare came into play, well, rules for the XB GT in racing were by cams. They can modify them to race, so you can modify them bigger tires, bigger like brakes, all that stuff that cams allowed for 1973. I think Group C era came into it. So after the XA was finished and axed, Alan Moffat and the racing program kept most of the Phase 4 bits to put into the XA GT hardtop. They didn't race the sedan, they favoured the hardtop two-door over the sedan. So in the XB range, there was the sedan, the ute, the wagon, the panel van, and the ute, where the option of the 351 K-code variant was available all across the range. Apparently, it was the XB was the top-selling vehicle of 1973 to 1976. It actually outsold Holden, the Holden HQ, HJ, and the HX series. It actually outsold everything because the taxi fleet wanted the Falcon over the Holden. There's more reliability, more power, and apparently had better fuel economy because of the power to weight ratio. So we'll look at the XB GT now that I've got here. So it had Mustang and Torino inspired interior. It had electric windows as an option. Had you could actually get it fully equipped. This one was auto. Well, so this one's a manual. You could actually get fully equipped with everything, like from the options, like an option sheet when they gave it to you. They actually done like anything you wanted. Ford would sign it off if you had the cash. Back then they weren't limitless on whatever. So you could get a fully equipped GT, electric windows, Continental, vinyl roof, everything. So, but they had with the XB GT, they had the limited slip differential. First to have, it was the first to ever have four-wheel disc brakes as an option on the V8s. They had integrated air conditioning. The dipper switch on the floor was actually changed. Ford actually did the first to integrate with the dipper switch off the floor onto an indicator switch. Ford actually come up with that option in 1973 first, where some of the HQs still in 1973, they still came out with the dipper switch on the floor. In 1974, I can remember with and some of the early HJs had the dipper switches. It was only until HX that they did away with the dipper switch on the floor to the switch to the multi-functioning indicator switch that they had in 1975, 1976 HJ, HX, HZ in the Holden. So Ford really was ahead of their game with the high beams, with the switch, with the upgraded switch. The interior was more comfortable than the HJ, the tracking, the handling. The XB was, it was ahead of its game in sales and reliability. but rust issues plagued the XBs. They used to rust out in like down here in the dog legs area, in the dogleg areas down here, and along the seals and torque boxes were a big issue because of the silicon from the factory and the salt air. It was water based around the windscreen, and the plenums were plagued for rusting out in these XBs. So you had to keep them really in a dry climate, and with the problems with the rust was just notorious. All the torque boxes used to rust out in them, plenums. The now the in the now in the interior in the XB GT, the dashboard, the dash was better than the XY because it all had the interior instrument cluster was all in front of you. You know, the layout was better than the XY counterpart. Still using the frame of the XY for the floor pan. So they had in the back, you can't really see the back, but the back, you know, the wide tracking gave it better leg room, better steering, comfortable, like the bolster and the seats, they were better. The seats more comfortable, high-rise seats. You know, these weren't optioned with the 36-gallon tank. They had like a 27-gallon long-range tank because of the race model was cancelled. So XB never had so the XB GT only came out. The GT variant didn't come out with the HO variant because that was cancelled with the Phase 4. But a lot of the parts in 1973, a lot of the parts went out into the industry from the Phase 4. So, you know, an XB would come through because the XA, they had with the HO, they had a lot of parts that they had to get rid of. So some of the early XBs, some of the early 73 XBs and the Fairlanes, you know, some would come through with a winged sump, a 780 Holly. I know Max McLeod's cars, from McLeod Ford, his horn cars that he had, the XB horn cars, some of them actually came out with the XA Phase 4. They actually come out with the XA Phase 4. Some of them come out the headers, the solid camshafts. You know, most of these parts had to go. They had to go. You know, they had to get rid of them from the XA. But I'll do that another segment on the XA GHO Phase 4 in another segment. After that was axed, there was a rival of the XB Phase 5. I don't have a picture for you, but the Phase 5 had it was actually a concept, and then it got axed by Phase Autos. I think Wayne Jarrett Drampier wanted to do that with Phase Autos, but it wasn't signed off or anything. But everyone knows the XB out of Mad Max, out of the pursuit vehicles, like Mad Max's yellow pursuit Max Rocketensi's pursuit vehicle at the start was actually an XB, and one of the pursuit cars that Roop and Charlie had that got smashed through the Caravan, they were XBs. Max's was actually a 351 XB, so it was actually an ex-police car, so it would have had a T code 351 out of a GT. The hardtops were the hardtop in the XB range for Mad Max. The actual black on black hardtop was actually a genuine polar white GT. and it was done for the movie and then tried to be sold off, but no one really wanted it. You know, it didn't take any interest. And that car still survives today after Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior. They actually replicated they actually made two. They made another car. So the GT was actually made for all the close-up was actually done for all the close-up shots and everything. And then when the car decided to be destroyed off the cliff, well, they had another Fairmont there, a Fairmont hardtop there that they destroyed. And yeah, that car still survives to this day, amazingly. It's unrestored and still restored. It's been restored to, well, it's a Frankenstein. It's the front end like as it was in Mad Max, and the back end where the tanks and everything are, that still is reminisced from the Road Warrior, the Mad Max 2. But my opinion is they shouldn't have cut up a beautiful car. They should have actually put all the tanks and everything. They should have, well, yeah, they should have left that car how it was and then put the tanks and everything in the stunt cars. Because, you know, but back then a GT was just a GT back then. You know, no one really cared. No one knew how much value they'd be worth in years to come. So back to this GT, it has underneath, actually has the headers of the extractors, 4-into-1 pipes, and it does not have the tramp rods though. So the tramp rods were an option on these from the phase. They would have been carried over the phase 4. Had the exhausts, top loader gearbox. Well, this one's top loader. Well, top loader, and they were optioned with a single rail 4-speed. All XBs were optioned with 12-slot wheels. 12-slot or the 12-slot ROH 14-inch wheels. Or you could get the globes as an option if you wanted them. But yeah, other than that, it's pretty. Like the XB was pretty contemporary. Like but the Mustang Mark 1 was a big factor in queues for the XB. Like it was like the Mustang was actually bred back into it. But in 1976 was the nail in the coffin for the GT. The engine was like all the engines were bridled. You know, they lost the race model. They lost the GTHO, so it was really swallowed back in by 1976, or swallowed back in just an everyday car. Really, there's nothing special. So Ford actually decided in June 1976 to get out of the racing program. So, and by August 1976, the last of the GTs were rolling off the production line, and then they axed it. So in a short amount of time, from 1967 to 1976, you know, it was, you know, the GT program is done. But just to look back on the history of the Falcon GT, it was, you know, it was great. It was a great time. You know, you had all the GTHOs, the XR, the XT, then the XW GT, the GTHO, the GTHO Phase 2. Then you had the XY with your XY GT, and then your XY GTHO. Then the XA come out with a lot of range across there. It was the XA GTHO, the XA GT, the RPO 83. Then we got into the hard tops. Then the XB come out with the GT hardtop, which is the most famous of all. But other than that, you know, it's really good. It was really good model, and this model here done Ford pretty good. And then the XC, that's when the XC come out, started to lose in the sales. So because of the fuel crisis. So, but that's my review on the XB GT and the XB model, and I really liked. To my opinion, I reckon the XB was actually the best Falcon that they actually made, tracking wise and like handling wise, because these were, these were more refurbished, more refined GTs than their other counterparts. Like the braking was so much better. The comfortability, the sales records and comfort, and you got more options across the range. You could have anything you want: a vinyl roof, more colors. Um, you could have more options like electric windows, electric mirrors, power steering, anywhere up to the two doors, where you could actually have Landau or Landau, whatever they call them, in the Fairlane model, which was more or less a GT in the luxury form of having an LTD. So, but I hope you like this. I hope you like this review on this GT, and I should have more to come soon. Thanks very much for coming for coming along today and reviewing this and having a look at this really beautiful car. So thank you very much, and Big GT fan out.